This segment is on a ancient method of improving your performance and your overall general sense of well-being. It's called meditation. And I've done this presentation for school in my PhD program. And I also changed it out for bar exam study because it helps you develop your mind. But I wanted to just say that if you see a similar one, or you've seen this and it looks familiar, and it was from me. But anyhow, I wanted to give a little background and history of mindfulness meditation as well. So this is kind of like a documentary. It might be a little bit long. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, but it's for optimal performance in your life. Now, what is mindfulness meditation? Contemporaneously, mindfulness meditation is a secular form of an ancient practice of stilling the mind and increasing awareness of yourself, first using your breathing and pondering your life force energy. As you breathe in a relaxed, deep, and controlled manner. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, it's a process. You learn through practice how to do this. Usually, they'll have guided meditation. Now, this type of meditation is a discipline, and it can be taught. Anybody can learn it. Now, there's various applications for this practice, and it was derived from Buddhist tradition. And there's been a whole lot of studies done on it over the past 2 decades. They've taken people, they've hooked their heads up to electronic monitors. I'm going to show you some photos a little further down. But studies have shown that if you just do 8 weeks worth of guided mindfulness meditation, it will help you develop better concentration. It'll help you have less anxiety, less pain. It gives you more cognitive flexibility. That means your mind is more agile. And people have a better feelings, mood, and focus. Additionally, the studies have indicated that mindfulness meditators have better control of their emotional reactions. They will notice they are angry or sad, but they are more controlled in their expression of their emotions. So, religions in society are characterized as social institutions, and religion permeates cultural norms and beliefs. Religions have rules, regulations, traditions, rituals, and allegory. There are various perspectives on religion, yet on religion, Emile Durkheim wrote, "Since all religions can be compared to each other, and since all species are of the same class, there are necessarily many elements which are common to all." And the reason I'm bringing this up is some religions might tell you that mindfulness meditation is wrong or bad, but really it's kind of like a competition for the religion that you're giving 10% to, because it teaches you to control yourself better, to control your mood better. There's nothing wrong with it. It's listening to the still small voice within. Now, Joseph Campbell compares the Judeo-Christian myths with Buddhism. Their central themes of a garden of deity, a tree of life, and 2 guardians by the gate. He did a series on this, and you can probably catch his videos. Just look for Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth. Now, Thomas Merton was a journalist and a Catholic Trappist monk. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold, so my voice is starting to Excuse me, it's not as good. But anyway, he aligned his thought with Durkheim. Merton was a religious figure and an author, and he studied other religions and their common themes, and he was particularly attracted to the mysticism of the Abrahamic religions, both Muslim and Jewish. He was looking at that triad because Christianity, Jewish, and Abraham and Muslim, they're all from the same forefather. They're all from Abraham. They all have the beginning creation story. Now, the Muslims came out of when Abraham and Sarah had a baby, and then she had her son. They kicked out that branch of the family from the concubine, and then they also have the same. And then, of course, Christians have the branch coming out of the Jewish religion from Jesus. Jesus was in the David line. Anyhow, so with his position as a Trappist monk, this is back to the Catholic monk, Merton, he met with prominent religious figures and a Zen Buddhist monk who became a bridge between the secular practice and the sacred practice of mindfulness meditation. His name was Thich Nhat Hanh, and he was over in Vietnam. And during the Vietnam War, they Hahn and Merton had a lot in common. They were both authors and monks and survivors of war. So um, they brought back the religion, and it was translated later on. But the founder of Buddhism was a son of Prince Siddhartha during the 6th century, and he was located in Lumbini, Nepal, in the Himalaya mountains, and it was a separate country from India. And the main chant in this religion involves a trinity between worshiping the enlightened one, Buddha, the doctrine, and the community. These chants are said repeatedly, but Buddhist monks, priests are instructed the laity on how to say it. The founder of life is passed through allegory, and he's described as losing his mother at 7 days old, being raised by an aunt, being royal, and possessing genius intelligence. He searches for salvation and is taught by various monks, learning yoga and other doctrines, such as the continuity of life, through which all are reincarnated. The story goes on with him being dissatisfied with the teachers and winding up teaching the teachers, as well as going into the desert with some disciples, where he went on a semi-fast, and he lost a great deal of weight, becoming only skin and bones. Now, these stories are recalled differently depending on how the sect of Buddhism that's teaching it. Suffice it to say, there's several versions. So this wealthy prince goes off in the desert. He's seeking enlightenment. He comes up with all this. Now, this is before Jesus. This religion has a heaven, a hell, and it has different deities. And the deities are like saints. They are actually called saints because they have lived before, and they lived exemplary lives. And they believe you can pray to these saints or spirits. Other people from outside religions think that they're worshiping many gods, but they believe when the body dies, the spirit goes out, and this is the spirit of someone who had led an exemplary life, and they can pray to them, and they can act on their behalf instead of going directly to God. But anyway, so there's various interpretations and dogma of Buddhism, and it contains 12 truths, but again, it depends on the branch of Buddhism. And this doctrine teaches that salvation can be reached through meditation. That's right, meditation is how you can reach salvation. And the path to nirvana is made up of 8 paths: right beliefs, views, right resolve or aims, right words, right behavior, right occupation or mode of livelihood, right effort or exertion, right contemplation or mindfulness, and right concentration or meditation and tranquility. So it's developing the mind and the soul. Now, as mentioned previously, Buddhism has several variations, kind of like Christianity has several variations, including Catholicism. And, there's the Orthodox Catholic, or then there's the Roman Catholic. Same thing. And then you've got Protestants. So it's a religion that started with one head. And anyway, so there's 10 commandments in this religion of Buddhism, and the monks must obey all these. The Buddhist monks have to be celibate, kind of like Catholic priests. Now they have to obey all these things. Now the laity, or the people that aren't monks that are in the religion, they're exempt from some of them, but there are 10 commandments there: don't kill, don't steal. The third is refrain from unlawful sex. Now, for monks, the unlawful sex would be having sex at all. But for, the laity, it would be like don't sleep around, just have one spouse. They'll have a whole list of things that are wrong. The fourth is don't lie, don't drink intoxicating liquids. So they don't want people getting inebriated. And they also have a rule that you have to eat at specific times, abstain from performances and performing plays, dancing, and music. So I'm not sure, how. Anyhow, there's a bunch of other things in here, like don't, paint your face and put on a bunch of perfume and adorn your hair. So, and then they have sleep in a bed that's not too high or wide, and don't possess any gold or silver. So it's meant in the widest sense. The monks are held to a higher standard, and the thou shalt not kill also includes all living beings, including insects, worms, and animals. Now, this is for the most strict of them. Not all of them are vegetarians, but the original, some of the monks are. It depends on the sect. Anyhow, this eightfold path and meditation is where the secular practice, or the practice outside of this religion, became and was developed and studied. So the monks have been studied, but for the practices of this research on mindfulness meditation in the United States and other places where it was studied. But anyway, let me tell you a little more about the Buddhist tradition before I get to that. Religion has concepts of afterlife and death, reincarnation, karma, and different levels of heaven and hell. The religious allegory or beliefs vary according to location and traditions. Now, in China, prior to the spread of Buddhism to their culture, the Chinese, like the Aryans, believed in 3 levels of existence. They believed prior to that, the Buddhist religion coming there, that the earth had, there was earth here, and then heaven and hell and an afterlife. So when Buddhism came there to their country, it merged as a compatible religion, but then the monks, as Buddhas or enlightened ones, were relied on for their personal benefit in the afterlife. The monks carried out salvation activities and rites for the dead. For the lay people in their meditations, they would mitigate bad karma for the dearly departed and receive monies or gifts for doing so. Most rites for the dead in China are supposed to be universal rather than exclusive. Their object is to feed, instruct, and deliver as many hungry ghosts as possible. And that's right, they call them hungry ghosts. And sometimes to do the same for the souls being tortured in hell. The beliefs about afterlife and reincarnation, salvation, karma are intricate topic of another discussion, but part of the context for which the Buddhist practice of meditation by monks was instituted. The monks were developed in mind so that they had spiritual authority to carry on and conduct affairs outside of the temporal realm, and so lead a life apart from their contemporaries. So now, the practice of mindfulness meditation, as discussed previously, is an outgrowth of the Buddhist tradition and previously was a secret, and the secret methods of meditation were reserved for the monks. There's a thing called Kundalini and other stages that are similar to, like, I think they call it in the Catholic religion, like when they're meditating over the rosary beads, they say some of these, they get into a state of mind when they're praying, and I don't know if they call it ecstasy, but it's where the nuns or other people that are praying get into a state of mind that's like they're high on some kind of, really, their mind is like so happy and everything, and they're like, it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but anyhow, so the this state of mind that you can get it, you don't necessarily have to get it through the meditation of mindfulness meditation, but it happens with mindfulness meditation, but also other religions might practice a form of it. They don't realize they're practicing a form of it because they're meditating on Mother Mary and the Stations of the Cross or whatever. So anyhow, this Buddhist monk of the Zen tradition that was also, remember back when I was telling you about Thomas Merton being friends with this Buddhist monk? Well, he was exiled to France during the Vietnam War, and this French Thomas Merton was a French Catholic convert and a journalist. He connected with Thich Han, and they both were writers, and they wrote prolifically about contemplative meditations. So what happened was, they wound up having it written in English and translated. It was called The Miracle of Mindfulness, a manual on meditation, and it was released. Well, lo and behold, John Kabat-Zinn, who had a religious background in Judaism, studied the book that they released. Well, what does he do? He brings it he brings it into the hospital, and he brings it into research, and it gets researched. But anyway, so this book that was written by the monk on The Miracle of Mindfulness, a manual on meditation, he first wrote it to teach his missionary workers or fellow monks in the middle of the war, the Vietnam War, to detach and remain calm while leading a contemplative life and a missionary life as a way to calm the mind in the midst of turmoil. And these methods are part of an ancient, secret, or higher way of life that the monks had used. And so Dr. John Kabat-Zinn thought maybe that this kind of mindfulness meditation, he adapted it, and he wanted to study it, And he converged it in with the science, but he took it away from a religion, so it became secular. So he said this would make a great therapy. So he actually started a clinic, the Stress Reduction and Relaxation Program at University of Massachusetts Medical Center. And this clinic worked with participants over an 8-week period. Now, in order to successfully benefit from mindfulness meditation, one must have an open mind, be willing to receive instruction, have a good attitude, and intend to make a good faith effort. If a person just attends sessions and has a passive in their heart and is not cultivating the mindfulness meditation, it's likely they're not ready to receive the full benefits of the practice. And there are many benefits to mindfulness meditation. Scientific studies on the practice have been conducted over the past few decades. These studies used objective measurements of the brain and the body, such as MRI imaging, and other studies mentioned in earlier slides, optimal performance, and also showed score improvement on exams through 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation. The cultivation of the practice allows a person to have a better quality of life and can improve their performance. Yet you can't get this by passively watching an instructional video. You actually have to engage in the practice, first through guided meditation and then on your own. There's 7 directives in the mindfulness meditation. Now, what I want to tell you a little bit about Jon Kabat-Zinn. He had a PhD in molecular biology, so he wanted to see concrete evidence on the mindfulness meditation. And he's the founder of the stress clinic I mentioned, and he wrote a book, Full Catastrophe Living, and he writes down in the old, now I've got an older copy of it, and I think the newer one might have been different, but I followed this and read it. I had to read it for actually an undergraduate health psychology class, but now I'm in the PhD program, and I studied it again. But anyway, he wrote there were 7 pillars of mindfulness practice that he teaches. And you have to learn to cultivate these kind of thoughts because you need to learn to be non-judgmental and be bipartisan, be objective. You have to learn to divorce yourself from preconceived notions. Okay, you're going to have like a Jedi warrior mind. I'm serious. This is like, you're going to be focused because when you learn these 7 pillars and you have patience and you're going from sort of a non-judgmental thing, thoughts can come in your mind and you won't have this sense of impatience. You won't have this resistance. You're having more of a calm flow in the midst of a storm. So the concept of time is to be savored rather than anxiously feared. And the beginner's mind is like having a child's mind. It is where one perceives the glory of life with a fresh set of eyes, rather than as a mundane, tired way of life. This should be practiced daily during the various forms of meditation. It is a type of appreciation. Trust your intuition feelings. This includes listening to and trusting your body when doing anything. This means going at your own pace in a manner you're comfortable with. 5, non-striving is easy does it. Anyhow, you can look at this yourself and maybe get his book. I don't know. I could go on, but I think I need to jump ahead a little because I didn't realize I was taking so long and I'm kind of running out of time. But this is just a picture of a yoga meditation class. Now, yoga is a form of meditation as well. And the key to meditation, besides controlling your thoughts you ponder, is to relax and follow breathing patterns. It also includes focused awareness upon the present moment. During a meditation session, one will focus on breathing or parts of their body as a method called the body scan. Mindfulness meditation can be done lying down, standing up, walking, and while doing chores. At the end of this video, I might put a link in where you can get free mindfulness meditation audio. Anyhow, the idea is that one must shift their thinking into the fact that there's an invisible force to which we and everything is connected. It's a life force energy, if you will. Or if you want to say it's God, you can do that. But it's a good force. It's the life. I think they call it chi energy in some places. But everybody has a different name for the good light of life. But anyway, when John Kabat-Zinn studied molecular biology, he's able to study life from a perspective that ponders everything at the atomic and microscopic unifying elements of life. Everything has atoms, or organic or inorganic material. It focuses on the connectedness of the person to everything. Besides this connectedness, there's a stress that the mindfulness practice teaches one to respond by mastering their stress rather than reacting in negative ways. When you're under stress, it can unload chemical messengers in your body, causing illness by lowering your immune system and other reactions. Controlling the release of these chemicals has been shown in studies to improve health. Now, actually, this is John Kabat-Zinn right here, and if you look below the video, you will see that I put in credit as to where I got all these images from. Now, this is a screenshot of John Kabat-Zinn in a video, and I found it on YouTube. You can find that on YouTube too. Okay? Now, these images are taken from some scholarly articles that I researched on the studies that they did. They ran MRIs of the brains with before and after mindfulness meditation. They measured the stress reduction, and they also studied people's flares of certain autoimmune diseases like psoriasis, headaches, heart disease, chronic pain, cancer, high blood pressure, and the like. And these numerous studies found that after 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation, a lot of these health problems were reduced substantially. Their overall mood was better, their performance was better. There were studies in performance as well. And markers of inflammation that was taken from their blood, the inflammation rates were lower, which means they were healthier. They also did EKGs, not just MRIs, to watch the electrical current and the blood flow rate. They checked the blood pressure before, during, and after an 8-week period of mindfulness meditation. And these studies illustrate how science has advanced the understanding that mindfulness meditation actually does work. It's not some mumbo jumbo. There was one study that did a meta-analysis of 30 mindfulness-based neuroimaging studies, tabulated the data, comparing results. Another similar study was done. Now, another study was like a bunch of articles. They looked at 30 research articles on the mindfulness as well, and they tabulated all the data, they compared it, and they also did the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction, and they found that it induces brain changes similar to traditional long-term meditation. And the study looked at the neuroimaging of the brain, and they reported improvement in well-being by the subjects in the prior studies in comparison with traditional meditation and secular mindfulness meditation is included. So, the regions in the brain associated with positive mood and cognitive reasoning had improved circulation and the flow and their blood flow in their brain. They had better. They actually had better brain function after it. They highlighted the areas, the prefrontal cortex and the visual cortex actually were strengthened. It's like building a muscle in your brain. Your brain is like a muscle, you can build it. And meditation helps you build it. Okay? And you start with mindfulness meditation. Now, they've done studies on performance, and they also did studies on long-term meditators. That's like people who've been doing it for 3 or more years on a regular basis. And then they compared their brains with people that had little or no knowledge of mindfulness, and they call them naive subjects. But they found that um, these people, like with depression or positive or negative effects, the MRI brain imaging suggested that they had changes in their brain. The naive subjects had changes almost near what long-term meditators had after only 8 weeks. It also showed that the, the study was kind of limited and they'd like to do more people, but basically they concluded that after only 8 weeks of mindfulness training, you can probably get the same results as a long-term meditator. But they did say that you need to have further studies. But basically, it's like once you're doing it long term, it's kind of like you're maintaining. Um, but anyhow, there's some free guided meditation. I'll put the link below. And it's an ancient religious practice, and it's been restyled to take it out of a religion and just let regular people, regardless of what their religion is, do it. It's basically the enlightened way or higher state of being. And I hope you enjoyed this. It really it can be therapeutic for a lot of people that are, that maybe came out of a war and have PTSD, or people that had, some things happen in their life where their emotional regulation, they get anxiety. Sometimes that can help. But anyhow, here's some of my references, and I just want to give credit where credit is due, and I also want to thank everyone for stopping by and listening. I know this is kind of long, but I wanted to let you know all the details. And I hope you get started on practicing mindfulness meditation because it's a really great practice. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a nice day.